You must build a 5-story building. And this is how you get your wealth and power. Now, the first thing you work on is economics. You started practicing group economics, making your money bounce in your own community 8 to 12 times before it leaves. The second floor is politics. Our people got that backwards. They want to get into politics before they get in the economy. Backwards as hell. You won't make it. You buy every politician with the money you made on the first floor. The third floor is your court system, your police system. You control the court system so they won't be getting 40 years in jail for having marijuana. Then the fourth floor is media. You take your money off the first floor and you buy media. Black folk own 35 thousandths of 1% in media. You don't own media, you can't communicate, you can't organize, you can't motivate. The fifth floor is education. Education is a tool, just like a hammer and a saw. But you got to have an economy. See, when a kid graduates from school, the first thing you do, he should be able to go back to his own community and start building businesses and industries and drawing money into his community and holding it.
New week, new HRap. Thank you for tapping in. This is the End of the Bench Media. I am HRap, the host of Few Minutes with HRap. As I do this on a daily basis, Monday through Friday. Hit that like, hit that share, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do. You know, if you like, dislike, let me know what you know. Let me know what you think in the notes. You can also watch this at www.thaendofdabench.com. Again, that is www.thaendofdabench.com. That's my website. That's where you can see this live. As usual, I have a little clip from One Mic History with my man Country Boy, giving you your history the way it needs to be presented so it can trigger something in you and inspire you to inspire your children and so forth and so on and make this community a better place to live, as I do every week. I thank my parents, Dolores and John. Without Dolores and John, there is no me. Without me, you'd be doing something else. Thank you for tapping in again. Today's episode is called The Playoffs. The National Football League had an excellent show in the playoffs yesterday. Big ups to the National Football League, but most importantly, it gives us a peek into what today is. How does it do that? Today is Inauguration Day, of course. The new president was sworn in at some point today. Didn't pay attention to it because it really didn't. And today is a very important day for people in my community. Martin Luther King Jr.'s the celebration of his life is today. It's not his birthday. His birthday is last week on the 15th. Today is the celebration of his life, the celebration of his dream, the celebration of his accomplishments, the celebration of the galvanizing of the Black community, coast to coast, border to border, and worldwide. Dr. King was not just a U.S. Black figure. He was a figure of our people from coast to coast, from sea to sea, and all the imaginary borders that colonized people put in place, because those borders don't exist. But that's another subject for another day. Today is a day that Dr. King, that is set aside to acknowledge Dr. King. What I want you to do as a favor to me, pull up the song on YouTube, on wherever you stream your music, and that's made by Stevie Wonder, and listen to the words. Do me a favor, listen to the words. The words are very, very, very powerful. And then we want to help out old Stevie. It's not like Stevie's broke, but we want to make sure we put money in the pockets of the people who've done everything they can to support us. Now, with that being said, the playoffs, you were duped. I'm going to talk about the playoffs, but they're going to be metaphorically speaking about the playoffs in regards to how they align up with the playoffs of life. We have entered the first quarter, the first round of the playoffs. That's the first year of the presidency of the new president. And that's the first year of the liberation and the compiling of wealth and the reimagination of Black America and Black people worldwide. This is the first round of it. And we must be laser focused. We must unite. We must work together, and we must do away with these colonized ideas. And I keep using the words colonized because this isn't the way we were genetically constructed. We are a people, a communal people. And if we stop thinking like others by trying to oppress people because of the way they pray, who they lay with, who they love, how they love, and anything of that nature, once we stop doing that, then we can become together as a community and put ourselves in a situation that will benefit our grandchildren's great-grandchildren. How about that? Our grandchildren's great-grandchildren. That's what we need to be. We need to be thinking 100 years into the future. 100 years in the future. We should be planting the seeds for trees that our great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren are going to sit under. That's the mentality that we need to take on. And like I was saying, I am going to give you information about the National Football League, but it's going to tie into life. Yesterday, we saw one of the best football players in the history of the National Football League by the name of a young man by the name of Lamar Jackson. If you're not a football fan, I'll keep you, I'll help you, I'll help craft this picture for you. But I'm using our young brother Lamar Jackson as an example. He's one of the best players we've ever seen. He's only played, I think, 5 or 6 years in the National Football League. And I do believe at this point, if he never played another game, he would be a Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer meaning one of the greatest players to ever put one of those National Football League uniforms on. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I listened to the people critique him today. I've been watching football and knowing exactly what I was watching for 40 years at this point, 41 years. I would say I knew exactly what I was watching by the time I was age 14, because at this point, I'm playing high school football. At this point, I'm one of the better players in my circle. And now I know exactly what I'm watching. I'm reading, I'm paying attention, I'm listening to the announcers, and I knew exactly. So for the last 41 years, I've been knowing exactly what I was watching. And with that being said, I noticed that when Black quarterbacks, just like with Black people, we're expected to never have any flaws, any mistakes. Barack Obama had to be straight-laced. He had to never veer off the path. Meanwhile, the current president has 43 felonies. He's been sued several times. He said some disparaging things about community, people in our community and other communities and people who look like us worldwide. And nobody says anything. But if Barack Obama wore a tan suit and people acted as if he had a Klan suit on, these are the things that alarm me about the way we have been trained to think. This is why we don't like migrants. This is why we don't like people who are from the LGBTQIE community. This is why we don't like women. This is why we allow people to do things to our Black men, and then they go, hey, well, he shouldn't have done, instead of, hey, no, he shouldn't have shot him. The offense, no, there's nothing, there are rarely situations in which the person, as a matter of fact, that was stupid. There's nothing in this world that should make you be shot dead in the street outside of you running aggressively at a police officer with a firearm attempting to kill him. And maybe I haven't seen that, but I have never read or heard of it either. So what we have to do is stop grading on the curve of our oppressor, because they can come up with any reason whatsoever. And the video that I'll show you today from One Mic History was hosted by Country Boy. That's on YouTube. And you can watch the video in its entirety on www.thaendofdabench.com. That video will show you an example of what I'm talking about. We must stop saying, hey, well, he had a bad first half that led to the second. No, it didn't. He had a bad first half, and he made up for that by having a stellar second half. I've watched John Elway do it. I've watched Joe Montana do it. I've watched Dan Marino do it. I've watched hundreds of other players have bad first halves and wonderful second halves. I'm old enough to remember Michael Jordan missing his first 17 shots in the first half, go on to score like 38 points and win the game. Again, that's why they play four quarters, and that's why this is the playoffs, because I'm going to show you what we need to do to win these playoffs in the United States of America as a Black community, from my point of view. Now, and if you're watching, I need you to hit that like, hit that share, welcome aboard. If you just tapped in, it's important. So why is it that these young men, why is it that the Black quarterback in the United States of America isn't allowed to be a very good player? He has to be excellent. He has to be impeccable. He has to never make a mistake, because if he makes a mistake, it's his fault. But the counterparts, I'm watching ESPN this morning before I took my nap, and I see that you had the brother on, two Black men on one side of the table, two white men who actually played quarterback on the other side of the table, and the white guy moderated. The one Black guy, Damian Woodley, he said, yeah, I know he had a couple mistakes in the first half. I know he played excellent in the second half, but he shouldn't have made a mistake in the first half. Do you know how asinine that sounds? I shouldn't have missed the shot. I shouldn't have fumbled the football. I should have thrown the interception in the first half, and that would have stopped the guy who actually dropped several passes, who actually dropped the game-winning ball that would have stopped him from having to do that. That sounds like you sound like a damn fool. Shout out to Louis Riddick for correcting him and showing the world, if you were listening, that this guy sounds stupid. And the quarterbacks siding with the brother Louis Riddick. So I have to have an impeccable game just to be average. But look, guess what? I saw Troy Aikman lose a football game, but he was down 24-0. And if it wasn't for the great Deion Sanders making an excellent play against Troy Aikman's teammate, Troy Aikman and the Dallas Cowboys would have won that game. But you don't hear about how Troy Aikman lost, because Troy Aikman was an excellent ball player. He wasn't one of the all-time greats, but he's a Hall of Famer nonetheless. When are we going to allow our players to be very good, one of the all-time greats, but not have to be excellent? LeBron James, we destroy him. We destroy Scottie Pippen. We destroy others because they don't measure up to the greatest of all time. And that's how we're measured. That's how we are measured. And we've gotten to the point where we do it to ourselves. The white announcers don't beat up Lamar Jackson like that. Some of them that secretly have sheets under their shirt, and that's just the way I feel. But they don't do that to their ball players. But see, we have this pretend, fake it, impartial. Well, most people aren't impartial. Most people are rooting for the white guy. The white guys are rooting for the white guy. And the black guys are rooting for the black guy. And other people are rooting for who they want to. But it's probably leaning towards the white guy because that's what we've been conditioned to do. So if everybody conditioned to lean towards them, why don't we condition ourselves to lean towards us? It's not a problem. Yes, guess what? I don't have a favorite football team in the National Football League anymore. You know what? I like all the teams with black coaches and all the teams with black quarterbacks. And if you don't like that, sucks to be you. But I'm supporting my tribe, and maybe you should too. Maybe you should too. And I know you do. But we've been trained that that's not the way to go. Why wouldn't it be? Because if it was your son, your nephew, your cousin playing in the National Football League, you would be rooting for that team. You could be living in Seattle, Washington, and the Miami Dolphins would have your son, and you would be sitting in Seattle, Washington with a Miami Dolphins jersey on. That's it. That's all. That's how it goes. You're partial to your city. You're partial to your county. You're partial to your high school. You're partial to your college. So why wouldn't you be partial to your community? This is quarter one on how to win this game when the game is fixed. Support your community and support humanity. Again, support your community. And when you do that, you're supporting humanity because you don't have documented record of coast to coast, border to border, a group of black people coming together to destroy anything. As a matter of fact, when black people come together in the United States of America, it's usually for the betterment of the country. The civil rights movement helped out Latinos, helped out Jewish people, helped out women, helped out everybody in the United States of America. As a matter of fact, things like affirmative action benefited white women more than any group of people in the United States of America. But no one wants to talk about that. Civil rights movement helped with Title IX, which gave women equal funding in sports throughout the United States of America. But nobody talks about that. But again, if we just start supporting us and doing what's best for the community, guess what may happen? The country may get better. Quarter one in this game of life. See, we must stop being afraid to do what we have to do to make our community better, because whether we want to admit it or not, we're the trailblazers in the United States of America. When the black community is doing better, the United States is doing better. So let's make sure let's make America great. No, again, let's make America great. Because when the black community becomes great, people mimic us. They mimic us in every walk of life. So let's be the best we can be, and everybody be the best they can be. And then hopefully we can do away with this discrimination, denigration, and people just being disrespectful altogether. Let's try that. Now, tonight, National Football game. National Association of College Athletics, NCAA Football Championship game. It's the championship. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish versus the Texas Longhorns. These are two excellent institutions of higher learning. And you notice I'm mentioning institutions of higher learning. These are two football teams that are playing for two institutions of higher learning. The reason I'm bringing this up tonight is because one of the coaches is black. His mom is Korean. His dad is black. He's a black man. And he's biracial. He shouldn't do away with it. But you know what? when we're dealing with racism, when we're dealing with discrimination, when we're dealing with the police and things that are coming in this country, if he wasn't a coach in Notre Dame Fighting Irish, nobody be trying to call him biracial. When you see him, you call him a black man. So I'm going to call him a black man. I'm old school. And again, I'm not going to apologize for loving my people. Well, so you have to understand, no, you don't. If you hear something different than what I'm saying, go get a hug from somebody who loves you and have a conversation with them, or sit down with somebody on a nice warm couch with a notepad. You'll be okay. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because one of the most polarizing figures in the NCAA and NCAA football is one Coach Prime Sanders. Deion Sanders has been polarizing since he's hit the scene. He called himself Prime Time. They called him Neon Deion. He was outrageous. He was bombastic. He was one of the people in the history of the United States of American entertainment that was just a lightning rod for attention, and he lived up to expectations. Salute to him. Now, with Coach Prime brought attention to high school football when he was in the state of Texas in Dallas County. He brought attention to HBCUs when he went to Jackson State University, and then that's when it started. They noticed, the people who are disruptors noticed that Coach Prime may uplift the community, so they put him in place. Other people like myself, people like Professor Karen Hunter, people like Dr. Greg Carr, people like Roland Martin. We knew, we made the announcements. You can check the file. It's the beautiful part about having a podcast. You can check the history of the podcast. You can see what I said. We knew that the people at the top will come because there's no way we can let him uplift this HBCU thing. And a bunch of us were disappointed in Coach Prime, and some of us were voicing our disdain for what he did. And guess what? We have no right to be upset with him for making moves that'll benefit him and his future. Now, there was a way to do everything, and some of us said, hey, he should have just walked away in a traditional fashion. That was my only gripe. Don't walk away angry, even if you are angry. Just walk away. That way, there's no bad taste, there's no disdain, and then you just gracefully bow out. But that's neither here nor there at this point. He has taken the University of Colorado and in 2 years put them in a bowl game. And 2 seasons put them in a major bowl game, which was wonderful. But they also understand the power that comes along with that. That means you have to empower more people who look like Coach Prime in coaching positions. That means they have to move him out of that, because at that point it will expose the racism and the discrimination and the lack of integration in the United States of America when it comes to big time college sports. It will also empower young people to go to universities and things of that nature. And it's a matriculation that the people at the top, they don't need the people who with the greatest force in the United States of America to get any momentum, because if we ever get momentum and get even, we're leaving. And they assume that we will do to them what they have done to us. Like, I'm going to say that again. I'm going to say it slowly. They assume that's part of the hate of our community. They assume that if we ever get in front, we will look back and do to them what they've done to us. And that's just not in our genetic makeup. We are not a warring, we are not a menacing, we are not a destructive community, contrary to what you see on television. But again, you're only watching 30 minutes of the news, and if it bleeds, it leads. So that, of course, they're gonna show you the worst of us to continue to continue the division of humanity. Back to Coach Prime. Coach Prime and the other people, they're saying, well, Coach Prime, we want you to go to Dallas because that's the next level. Well, there's really no next level. Your level is your level. Some people are happy doing exactly what they're doing. Some people are police officers. Some people are plumbers. Some people are grocery store managers, and they are extremely happy in what they are doing. So that's their level. There's nothing wrong with that level, because they're happy. They're content. They get the chance to spend time with their wives. They get the chance to go to their children's activity. They get the chance to relax. They get the chance to go on vacation. They are living what they have created as the American dream. So there's no next level. That's your level. And again, it is empowering Coach Prime, but it also gives them the fodder to say he doesn't keep his word. You can't depend on these coaches. Look at this is what's wrong. And the most important thing, everybody's talking about this NIL, name, image and likeness. These kids are getting paid and they should go to a million different schools if they're go to the highest bidder. No, you shouldn't. Because guess what? When you're in the National Football League, there are 1,800 jobs. There are literally 109 Division 1A or high-level football programs. That's 109 people. That is literally 100,000 people every year going. That's 100,000 kids, because each school usually have 100 or more players. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of young men vying for less than 2,000 jobs. So why would we be telling our children to not be student athletes and just be athletes? Well, hey, some of these guys getting $1 million. You know what? Some guys in the National Football League getting millions of dollars, but some of those guys are making good job money as well. See, why if the average career in the National Football League or the NBA is 4 years, why would you not encourage young Black men and young Black women to stay in school and create networks? See, people think going to school is about playing sports or learning. No, it's about creating networks. It's about creating contacts. It's about having that institution like a University of Notre Dame, who literally say in their commitment to students, we are making a 40-year commitment to you, where you got a guy who played in the National Football League 12, 13 years in Justin Tuck, and now he works with one of the greatest financial institutions in the United States of America, Goldman Sachs, and he made those connections while getting his degree at the University of Notre Dame. University of Texas, where they have millions of dollars of boosters who will offer you opportunity after opportunity to have a life that far exceeds the National Football League. Because guess what? If you go to the National Football League when you're 21 years old and you're only there until you're 25 years old, that means you got about 60 more years to live. And guess what? That $3 to $5 million. Oh, well, they get $20 million. No, everyone doesn't. Some people are surviving off $350,000 a year in the National Football League. And guess what? That's just not a whole lot of money, especially when you have to do taxes for each state that you play in, especially when you have to pay an agent, and especially when you have family members asking you for assistance and you feel obligated to it. Because remember, these are not 40-year-old men. These are 20-year-old young boys. They're still mentally, emotionally, and socially boys. If you become a millionaire at age 20, guess what? You know what that means? You can't even buy a drink the night you get drafted. So let's focus on the college portion of college athletics and put these people in positions to learn. And how about this? Imagine each one of these young men who don't make it, who are on track to be an attorney, who are on track to be an engineer, who's on track to be a doctor, who's on track to be a physician assistant, who's on track to be a nurse, everything that we need in our community, who's on track to have a degree or an MBA, a master's in business and administration. So he can, as you saw at the top of the show, he can go back to his community and benefit everyone in his community instead of worrying about running, jumping, throwing, tackling, and hitting a ball or doing something with a ball. Because the last time I checked, you can't sell sweat for anything on earth. You can't just sweat or get a t-shirt and wring it out and sell it for anything. But you know what? You can enhance your academic experience. You can put yourself in a situation to whereas it'll benefit you. You'll put yourself in an advantageous position for you and your community if you enhance your mental, enhance your thought process. So when all this fake news and nonsense comes up on your social media feed, you will have the cognitive ability to do research versus posting a lie or believing a lie, or you'll understand civics, or you'll understand how the world works versus just going along with the first thing you see. Speaking of the first thing you see, it's history time. This is time for One Mic History, One Man Country Boy. If you want to see this video in its entirety, go to www.thaendofdabench.com and play a portion of this video, because I don't play the whole thing. It's a tease. I need you to go over to www.thaendofdabench.com, check me out, and then go and subscribe to my YouTube page and everything else. I'll be back shortly. This is my man Country Boy giving you a piece of your history. I'll be back shortly.
Germany in the spring of 1917, and later in 1917, the Passive Selective Service Act removed the Army's quota that limited Black enlistment based on their percentage of the population. This introduced a large number of Blacks in the military and enabled the United States to ramp up to the war effort. Whites, on the other hand, didn't see any reason to change their attitude towards Black soldiers. Most people in the South wanted nothing to do with Black soldiers invading their town. And war officials initially decided against sending Black recruits into the South for training. But Newton D. Baker, the war secretary for Woodrow Wilson, reversed his decision because he felt like it conflicted with military traditions. Baker, who was well aware of the potential racial issues, ordered his officers to exercise discretion and judgment to prevent any difficulty from arriving in this case. Texas in particular was infamous for its low tolerance for African American men in uniform. The war effort apparently took a back seat to maintaining the state's racial hierarchy. During the Spanish-American War of 1898, the all-Black 10th Cavalry received unprovoked sniper fire from white civilians. The frequency was so bad that the commanding officers requested a military escort for the troops in areas they were supposed to be protecting. In 1906, 106 members of the all-Black 25th Infantry was dishonorably discharged and imprisoned after being accused of conducting an unprovoked raid on Brownsville, Texas. Even though none of the men were ever identified, and investigators testified that the men were persistent in camp and all their weapons remained clean and unfired. So when the War Department ordered the all-Black 3rd Battalion 24th Infantry in the Houston.
That's that tease I told you about. If you want to watch that video in its entirety, go to One Mic History on YouTube, or I would prefer that you go to www.thaendofdabench, the name of the show, thaendofdabench.com. You can watch the video in its entirety. You'll be doing me and the orator on that video, Country Boy, a favor, because he'll get the view, I'll get the visit, I'll get the view, and then you're helping out everybody. Country Boy is a brother, I'm a brother, you more than likely, all right, brother or sister. Thank you for tapping in, comment, like, share, tell a friend to tap in. Let me close this out. I usually only do 15 minutes, but guess what? I've been sick for 2 weeks. I have a whole lot to talk about, so they're gonna be a little longer than normal. Back at it. Now, what I want us to do is this. This leads me into the third and the fourth quarters of my show. Today, the new president was inaugurated and he's going into office, and it is predicted to be a tumultuous time for working class individuals, especially people who don't look like the president. I'm here to tell you, I agree with that. I believe that it will be some hard times that's coming, just like the flu. Watch out, homeboy. Don't let it catch you. Y'all know I throw some hip hop in every week. Hip hop is who I am. That's what I do. Hip Hop Nation all day long. Speaking of Hip Hop Nation, you have people from the rap culture, because contrary to popular belief, and a lot of people don't want to admit it, hip hop is something rap is something you do. Hip hop is how you live. That's contrary to popular belief. Just because you black and you say, you know what I'm saying, and you got some big clothes on, these days some tight clothes on, and you got a gold chain, that does not make you hip hop. You participating as a rapper, that is what you do, but it's not hip hop. Hip hop culture is a part of my life that I embrace in its entirety. The good, the bad, and the ugly, just like being black. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I love it all. I don't want the bad and the ugly, but guess what? It's a part of me. Look, when I talk about my life, I talk about the fact that when I was born in 1970, I remember in the 70s being at my grandmother Lois's house, or my grandmother Mattie Mae's house, and I would hear music, and I would hear people playing things from the 60s, the Motown sound, and then I remember my Aunt Rita, who still to this day loves James Brown and Stevie Wonder, will play that. When I was at home on Saturday mornings, my mom would play Marvin Gaye and Curtis Mayfield and Barry White and the Spinners and those type of people. And then my sisters, as they matriculated, you played Rolls Royce and Switch and El DeBarge and so forth and so on. And then in 1979, King Tut III and the Fatback Band, it's the first recorded rap song ever. Most of y'all don't know that. And then you heard the Sugar Hill Gang, and then I heard Dr. Chuck or Mr. Hyde, and you heard Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and you heard Fat Boys and Run DMC, and then the first superstar in the history of rap, which is one James Todd Smith, you know him as LL Cool J, and we off to the races. Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is because one of the people that's part of one of the most famous rappers in the history of the world, a guy by the name of Snoop Doggy Dogg, Snoop Dogg, or Uncle Snoop, or whatever he's known now, and Ricky Rose, Rick Ross, and a guy by the name of Nelly, they were performing for Donald Trump. This has brought about a whole lot of anger and vitriol throughout the community. And everybody's angry because how could they perform for white nationalists and the white supremacists, and they're on TV talking about Rick Ross, I haven't seen any response to Rick Ross, and I haven't seen any response from Snoop Dogg, but one of the good brothers by the name of Willie D, one of the stalwarts and writers and the main performers of a group called the Ghetto Boys. They were into reality rap. Don't allow mainstream media to tell you it was gangster raps, because how many people that's gangsters rap? Truthfully, you might think you that, but overall, Duke, I think you whack. But we're not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do any negativity. I'm not gonna spread any denigration. I'm not gonna do any of that. What I am gonna talk about is the fact that at the end of the day, Rick Ross talks about selling dope. Rick Ross talks about slipping women mollies. Rick Ross talks about opulence. Rick Ross talks about disrespecting women. Nelly did the same thing, sliding tip drill. He's sliding credit cards and girls' butts and showering them with money and denigrating women. Snoop Dogg, well, I really don't listen to a lot of any of that music. Snoop Dogg, as hip hop as I am, as much as I love hip hop, I don't have a coast or direction. I love hip hop. I love Exhibit, Razzcast, NWA. All the dudes were Too Short, E40. I love Scarface and Slim Thug, and I love Big Crit out of Mississippi and David Banner and Ludacris out of Atlanta and Luther Campbell. Yes, Shaky Booty, Luther Campbell. I used to love Trick Daddy and I love the guy like J. Cole out of South Carolina and my man, what's his name, Timberland, and Missy out of Virginia and Punchline the Words out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I like rappers here in Chicago. I love the guys out of Detroit, out of Philadelphia, like Will Smith. Oh, what a Fresh Prince. Y'all like Will Smith. When we loved him in hip hop, he was the Fresh Prince. I love DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince and Cash Money and Marvelous and all those guys that come out of New York. So I don't have a boundary, but what I do have is standards in which the music I listen to. Do I listen to reality rap? Were they telling the truth about their community? Yes, I do. But I was not immersed in their culture, so I really never participated in the Snoop Dogg theory. To be honest with you, I thought Snoop was whack from the word go, because hip hop is all about self-expression and expressing your point of view. And when he remade somebody's song, I thought that was kind of whack. I thought it was some sucker stuff. So I never really immersed myself into the Snoop Dogg culture. But why would y'all expect people who rap about gangs, who rap about drugs, and disrespecting and denigrating women to do anything but quote unquote sell out? But the thing that bothers me the most about this is this, and only this. Y'all mad at some people for doing what y'all don't want them to do, but y'all don't get angry when it's something that's denigrating to the community overall. Case in point, my main man, I watched the show religiously. Club Shay Shay. About a year ago, our brother Cat Williams came on Shay Shay's show and set the world on fire. Nobody saw, and I honestly believe the brother Shannon Sharp, the host of Club Shay Shay, had no idea Cat Williams was going to set the world on fire like he did. I think it's up to like 80,000 views, 80 million views. It is the most viewed episode in a podcast in the history of podcasting. Nobody saw that coming. But what bothered me about Club Shay Shay is the next few weeks, he kept lighting that fire. Shay Shay continues to ask questions about Will Smith striking Chris Rock. He continues to ask people, put people in precarious situations, asking about that interview. Why, if you have something toxic, would you continue to pour salt into that? But nobody's mentioning that. And when I had a conversation with someone, you know what their response was? But he's getting paid. He's getting that paper, man. It sounds like you hating. Just like about 12 years ago when I used to tell everybody who would listen to me, man, that dude Stephen A. Smith is not that he's a detriment. He's not beneficial to our community. He supports white nationalism. Everybody, again, he's getting that paper though, man. You know, he just signed that $20 million. He just signed a $20 million deal. You sound like you hate him. And now he's identified as a coon, a sellout. I'm not calling Shannon a coon or a sellout, but he was perpetuating negativity. He was perpetuating black men in front of the world fighting about jokes, the theft of jokes. Look, is Cat Williams wrong for voicing his opinion? No, that's how that brother felt. He felt that he had been wrong when he said, this is what I feel. But my issue is, you don't bring up that stuff every day, every hour, every episode. You talk to Cat Williams about Cat Williams stuff. You talk about Godfrey stuff. You talk about this guy about that stuff. You talk about that guy about that stuff. You don't continue to stir the pot. I noticed that you don't sit around and talk about the fact that people continue to call you homosexual. They make homosexual references about you. I notice you don't do that. You don't do that because that's a thorn in your side. He getting that paper. That's how we justified it. He getting that paper though, right? You got to understand, he's getting that paper. But now the Snoop Dogg has aligned himself with somebody who most people in our community universally don't like. And how can he do that? What happened to that paper? What happened to he getting that paper though? Oh, it's okay to whore yourself out as long as you align yourself with the pimp or the trick. It's okay. No, it's not. It's not okay to whore yourself out on any level. You can disagree with Snoop Dogg. You can disagree with how, like I did with what Shannon Sharp did. But how about this? Let's disagree universally with the disrespecting of the people in our community. Let's disagree universally with the disrespect of the women of our community. Let's disagree universally with the disrespect of our community and by and large, whether you LGBTQIE, whether you are from another country and speak different from us, whether you're light skinned, dark skinned, old, young. How about that universal respect? Should you not be able to rap about what you want to rap about? Of course you can. But let's start focusing on the rappers that talk about things that we can relate to. Guess what? I'm in a wonderful situation in life. I was born on the west side of Chicago, which is a blue collar part of town. And guess what? The government, the state government, the county government, and the city government has not invested a lot. And there's a lot of people sitting on the struggle bus on the west side of Chicago. But there's a lot of people that's living good. Don't get me wrong. But the west side of Chicago, when you're in Chicago, you identify as that's the struggle bus over there. There's a lot of people doing well, though. That's how they identify. We've allowed people to identify that. That's the struggle bus. And then recently, y'all heard about the south side of Chicago, which I don't realize that they just trying to devalue that land and then gentrify and move my brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles out of that situation. That's all. That's why you hear about the violence on the south side. Because newsflash, when you live in Chicago, if you're from any other part of the city, you're scared of the west side. I don't know why. I'm from the west side, but guess what? It's the beauty in it. I was just born on the west side. My mom and my dad and my grandparents were from the west side. My mother raised me on the north side. I consider myself a north sider, the lower north side of Chicago. Guess what? Just down the street from one of the most dangerous public housing facilities called Cabrini Green. I grew up on the tracks. You know how they say you're on the other side of the tracks. Well, when you walked out of my house, if you made a right and went a quarter mile, you went to Cabrini Green, one of the most dangerous public housing establishments in the United States of America. If you did the same thing in the other direction, it was millionaires. So I got harassed if I went to the basketball court and walked home out the door. I literally was struck by a police officer with a basketball in my hand with basketball shorts on and a sweaty t-shirt. Where you coming from? And I wasn't even 1,000 feet away from the rim. So I understand it. I have literally seen someone murdered. I have literally seen someone put in a trunk and never be seen again. I've seen people smoke and sell crack cocaine. I know people who are addicted to drugs. But so I didn't gravitate to the Snoop Dogg and the Rick Ross and the gangster, quote unquote, gangster rap mentality. I rose above it and I went to people who would tell us stories like Exhibit, West Coast rapper from the same community Snoop Dogg was from, or he was talking about being a father to his child. Far Side from the Bay Area, and they were talking about when they were too shy to talk to girls. Because I remember at one point in my life I identified that. When Razzcast gave a history lesson with the song "The Nature of the Threat," when the Ghetto Boys talking about my mind playing tricks on me, and they talking about how they really didn't want to be bad, but they was doing bad things. I can identify that because I got a hole in my shoulder right there. Right there, there's a hole in my shoulder. I could talk about people. While I could understand Luke, because I used to like going to the club and shaking my booty. You know, I could listen to Ludacris and Outkast and other rappers like that, and J. Cole and the Lox and Punchline and Words and the guys in Chicago and the guys in Detroit and all over the country, because I could relate to that because I wasn't a gangster. I wasn't a hood dude. I wasn't standing on the corners, but I had friends doing all that. I have friends I got a schizophrenic friend who walks around the city of Chicago. I got a friend who's a drug. I got a cousin and friends who were drug kingpins. So I didn't need to gravitate towards that. The reason I bring these things up, you have the right to be mad at Nelly. You have the right to be mad at Rick Ross. You have the right to be mad at Snoop Dogg for being at the inauguration. But why wouldn't we be angry with them for presenting nothing but negativity and denigration of the community and painting our community in a horrible light for the last 30 years? That's the question I have. If we really want to win this playoff game and make, as I stated at the beginning of this episode, make our great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren a better world for them, maybe we need to be promoting the people who are more like the guy who we celebrated today, which is the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Maybe we need to be looking towards that. Do you know this is the first generation of musicians that made songs that didn't reflect the times? Everybody in this community is not struggling. That's their teachers who should be respected. They're musicians who need to be respected. Moo Fresh. How many of y'all know Moo Fresh? Look up. Wonderful artist. How many of y'all know who Fonte for Little Brother is? He got a song called Expensive Jeans, talking about jeans, not pants. Talking about how he had to go to his dad's funeral and watch people eat the same food that killed his dad. Yeah. There are people out there that's making these songs that are reflective to what you're going to. And guess what? You can dance to them as well. You can dance to them as well, because that's what music is, entertainment. But the reason we love the Stevie Wonders and the Marvin Gayes and the Curtis Mayfields and the Switches and the El DeBarges and the Jill Scotts and the Erykah Badu's and the Moo Freshes is because they say something that touch our souls. So instead of being angry with Nelly and Snoop Dogg about aligning themselves with white nationalists, because guess what? James Brown performed for Richard Nixon and we got him up out of that. We got that. We got him right up out of that. Why don't we just celebrate the people who are doing things that are beneficial to us? Maybe we need to know that it was this white man by the name of John Brown who was a white abolitionist and did everything he could to free black people to the point where they ended him up at the end of a rope. His life ended at the end of a rope. And his son went all the way to the West Coast and helped establish a town by the name of Alameda, California. Excuse me. Not Alameda, California. Altadena, California. Please forgive me. Altadena, California. And up until the recent fires, 80% of the black people in Altadena, California own their land. Go to YouTube and pull up a video of Altadena, California right now. See all that death and destruction. See all that destruction and flattening the land. And now, 100 years after John Brown's son helped establish the wealth in the black community, it has been destroyed. Much like the wealth in the black community in New Orleans, Louisiana was destroyed with Hurricane Katrina. Now you got a bunch of displaced black people. And then you got these vultures and the insurance companies stabbing them in their back, talking about, hey, we're not doing nothing. So instead of being mad at them, what we need to be doing is focusing on the 13,000 homes that have been destroyed. And it's over 60 million of us in this country. Maybe we can help those people. Maybe we can present an image that's better for our great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren, so we can fix our community and move forward. With that being said, I know I was long-winded today. I need you to like, share, comment. Leave a comment, man. If you disagree or agree with anything I'm saying, leave a comment. I love to interact with the people with the comments, because guess what? I got a lot of time in my hands. So I need you to tap in every day. I need you to subscribe, like, comment, have a discourse with me. And then we can hopefully enhance our communities and enhance our lives. Y'all already know how I end every show by saying thank you for tapping in. Hit that like, hit that share, subscribe if you haven't already. This is your man, Brian HRap B. I need you to leave a comment, 2 fingers, 1 word. I'm going to even say it today. I'm out.
And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why